and welcome back to Let's Get Adulting Part 2. This will be the physical aspects of being more independent when you're headed off and starting to live on your own. Button up. Alright, so here we're going to start with sewing up the button. Now we got our thread pulled right through the eye of the needle, which is that tiny little hole right at the top of the needle. And we're just going to stick the button on to where we want it to go. Now, as you can see, I'm starting from the top of the button and going straight through the hole. I would recommend you actually would do it from the other direction. Start from the bottom going in. But it's up to you on how you want to tie it up at the end. And I poked myself right there. Now, sewing kits are actually quite easy to find. You can find one at Walmart. I just have a quick Google search here for a sewing kit. It comes with a bunch of different colors. I am using a darker color. It'd be better if I did use white, but I did want to be able to see where the thread was because it is a white shirt. But sewing kits come in all different sizes. The smaller ones are always nice. You can keep it in a backpack with you or any other bag that you do use. And it's nice when the smaller ones come with the scissors, especially if you do keep it in a backpack. Because yeah, the thread does break when you pull on it but the scissors would be help there. But I'm just kind of going back and forth, feeding the needle through the holes in the button. There are two basic patterns for the button itself. There's the cross, and then there is the ones that go straight across as well. The X and then the equal sign in a way. I am doing the X pattern, so I am going back and forth between the holes in itself. Now at the end here, I'm just wrapping the needle through. This way it creates a knot at the bottom, so it holds in all the hard work that happened. So I'm just pulling on it to make sure it's tight, and then I'm just gonna grab a pair of scissors and just snip off that axis from the top as well. And then there we are. There's the button all nicely wrapped in there. And then we're gonna just this bake bread. Now, what we're gonna need for this is flour, baking soda, sea salt, milk, lemon juice, and butter. You can add different seasonings that you'd like. If you want to make it cheddar, you can have cheddar added to it. You can add oregano, make it herbs type. It's all up to what you want to do with it. So right now I'm just adding the flour in there. The original recipe is for a larger portion, so this is just what I did to make a smaller one. After the flour, I'm going to add in the baking soda. And now I'm just going to add in the sea salt. then I'm gonna just grab some milk now. The original recipe called for buttermilk, but buttermilk isn't really a ingredient that I tend to buy very often, so to substitute buttermilk, it's just milk with lemon juice. So it's going to be a 1-to-1 ratio for that, so if you end up doing the larger one, it will be 2 cups milk, 2 tablespoons lemon juice, and that's just for the acidity. And then we're going to do 2 tablespoons of butter, and it does call for melted butter, so I did end up melting it into this little bowl, and then I'm just pouring it right on top of the dry ingredients and with the milk as well. So this is something I would not recommend doing, is using the whisk. It did end up not working well with me. I'd recommend a plastic spoon if you got one of those larger ones, or a wooden spoon. Or just in the end, just use your hands. It will make the process so much easier. As you can see, I am starting to struggle with it. I'm trying to figure it all out there. So in the end, I do go for just using my hands. I'm just gonna end up trying to get the dough off right now. So right now I'm just kind of mixing it and putting it all together with my hands, just kind of squishing it a little bit. Just kind of kneading the dough, making sure that everything that's on the inside goes to the outside and everything from the outside goes in. And I'm just kind of trying to squish it all in there. Make sure no pieces are left behind. It is a bit crumbling, so I do end up adding more milk to it just so it gets a little more sticky. But you don't want it to be overly sticky, and you don't want it to be overly crumbly. So with dough, you've got to be careful because it does have a temperament of a sort, where it can change based on the temperature, it can change based on how much moisture is in the air. So you have to play around with it for a little bit to kind of figure out what it does need. So I'm just adding 1/4 teaspoon of milk. So I'm just kind of making sure that all the pieces from the sides are able to dry pieces stick. So the top part is a little sticky, so I am using the dry pieces from inside the bowl, and I'm kind of pushing them in there. And that was just me seeing if there were any last drops for the drier edges there. As you can see, that piece was a little sticky. So I'm going to just pat it all in, and then I'm going to end up switching and putting it right into a pan, and there it is. And I'm just kind of dropping it in there. Kind of made the whole table shake. And then I am actually going to grab the knife in a moment. And I'm just going to use the knife and cut a slit in the middle. Piece kind of stuck on there. Let's edit it back in. And then I'm actually going to add to, there we go. And then I head right to the oven. And I'm just going to put it right in there. And total time is actually going to be about 50 minutes of it in the oven. You can take a look at how brown you want it to be. So I'm just kind of cutting it apart right there. And the knife itself wasn't really the best, so it didn't actually cut all the way through to the bottom. So it kind of peeled itself off, but there's the bread. And then we got Holly. So right here we have a jacket that has a tear in it. And I'm just going in there with the needle. I already strung up the thread with it, so I'm just kind of going back and forth in a zigzag pattern, like so. So the top of the needle does have that eye, and it's easier to fold the thread so it kind of makes that little loop and then string it through the eye and then pull from the loop. This way you're able to get it right through. And I'm just kind of going back and forth in this zigzag pattern here. It's on the inside of a jacket. So visually it doesn't really need to be too appealing. But there are different ways of sewing that when you thread through, you can make it look invisible. But this one I'm just going back and forth. It's very nice and simple. So once I reach the bottom of the hole, I'm actually going to make my way back up. This way it'll create more of a hold onto it and patch the hole more. There are like little feathers in this one, so I want to make sure that they don't escape if they are sticking out. Just giving it little tugs so it tightens up. And then right here I'm just going to start tying it up. I'm going to make that loop in there. And it's just like when you knot a shoelace. You're taking the two pieces and you're wrapping them with each other, one over another, and just doing that a few times just so there are a few knots in a row so it doesn't end up coming undone. And in the end, take the scissors and just trim it. And boom, all finished. Thank you for watching.